Alright, kid, listen up. This fry is your universe. It's soggy, it's weird, it's gross. And this delicious normal fry is my universe. So you want to learn to be...
Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse was directed by 3 different dudes, so feel free to Google it, and follows Miles Morales as he gets bitten by a radioactive spider, meets Spider-Man, then meets a number of other versions of persons, and proceeds to fight the big bad in an attempt to help the aforementioned spider-persons, and hilarity ensues. Full disclosure, I had originally intended on seeing Clint Eastwood's The Mule this weekend, but my local theater was not showing it, so I watched Spider-Verse instead, and I have to say I'm glad I did. Spider-Verse is a fantastic movie. Everything about this movie is on point. I only have one complaint, and I'll get to that in a moment, but let's start with the casting. There are a number of characters in this movie, and all but 2 are spoiled by the trailers, so I'll try not to spoil them here. If you don't care, feel free to look up the cast on IMDb, because at least one of them is spoiled there. Let's start with the core characters. Spider-Verse centers on Miles Morales, voiced by Shameik Moore. After being bitten by the story's requisite radioactive spider, Miles finds himself in the company of Peter B. Parker, that B is important, voiced by Jake Johnson. Mr. B. Parker is from another dimension, and he's an older, far more world-weary spider than we're used to seeing in movies. Miles also finds himself in the company of Gwen Stacy, voiced by Haley Steinfeld, also known as Spider-Gwen, and also from another dimension. The interactions between these 3 characters, along with Miles' relationships with his dad, Jefferson Davis, voiced by Brian Tyree Henry, and his somewhat estranged uncle Aaron, voiced by Mahershala Ali, carry the bulk of this story, with a few fight scenes interspersed for good measure. The main big bad is Wilson Fisk, aka Kingpin, voiced by Liev Schreiber. I'll leave his henchmen unnamed since they provide 2 of the biggest surprises of the movie. The main story arc is straightforward: get the other spider people home. But it's Miles' struggles to come to terms with his parents' expectations, his unique educational opportunities, his love for his black sheep uncle, and his newfound abilities that make the movie worth watching. I'd never heard of Shameik Moore before this, but he did a great job bringing the character of Miles to life. As far as I'm concerned, there's not a weak performance in the group, not even Lily Tomlin as Aunt May. All that said, the real star of the movie is the animation. It's designed to look like the scenes are straight out of a comic book, and it works fantastically. One thing they did that I love is they decided to animate each Spider-Man according to their particular style. Miles and Peter are done in keeping with the rest of the animation, while the other Spider-Men are distinctly different. Spider-Gwen is noticeably more sleek, with fuller, more even coloring, much like the style of her comic book. Spider-Man Noir, voiced by Nicolas Cage, is done in grayscale. Penny Parker, voiced by Kimiko Glenn, is done in a Japanese anime style, and Spider-Ham, voiced by John Mulaney, is done in an over-the-top Looney Tunes style. This brings me to my one gripe with the movie, and some might consider it a spoiler, so spoiler alert, you have been warned. Because the other Spider-Men are from other dimensions, they're suffering from a sort of decay effect, and presumably will die if they don't get back. Because of this, they go through these sort of interdimensional seizures that the movie refers to as glitching. When this happens, and whenever Fisk turns on the machine that pulled them across dimensions in the first place, we get a collage of color that looks like 70s acid trips and 80s pop rock had a baby. It's distracting and doesn't really fit into the animation. Other than that, I really enjoyed Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 stars. You don't have to be a Spider-Man geek to have fun with this movie, so I recommend checking it out in the theater if you can. And that's it. Thanks for tagging along for this review, and as always, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you back here again next week for another one.